Hey everybody, this is Ray. I have a new phone. I got one of these AT&T phones. I don't know if I'm getting onto all my Facebook pages, but I can get onto one page, and then I can also get onto YouTube. So I might as well just use the internet, like that I can do it from my phone or whatever. Okay, so we just did this thing about like. I don't know what that is. I probably wasn't supposed to say anything about this thing or something, but I think that you have to be able to accept like the principles that we're talking about when we're talking about homelessness and homeless people. You know, there's something interesting. There's a way that you can talk about the subject that we're talking about your viewpoint, because there is such a thing. Like, for instance, in this conversation about the urban environments, like. That's the Anglo-Saxon one. You know what I mean? But the thing about this is that when we get into these conversations about the urban environments, you know, that it actually lands on that person. It lands on somebody. And it's talking about this person's viewpoint, you know? Ultimately, what we're talking about is how the Anglo-Saxon one, like, he is going to bloom and grow, like from Edelweiss. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing that we need to understand is that, okay, so I'm a homeless person. And when you're having a conversation with me, you're not having a conversation about the missing viewpoint. Like you don't know what your own viewpoint is, or you don't know what your own viewpoint is supposed to be. You know, that's weird, because these conversations are going to continue. You know what I mean? And if it lands on you, you know, that's just like, okay, so people are asking for you to bloom and grow. You know what I mean? Like to the Anglo-Saxon one or whatever. That's actually like what it means, you know? So, that the homeless person, okay, that you cannot be having a conversation where the reason why that you would have a viewpoint would disappear, you know, your viewpoint on homelessness, because in today's world, we're talking about today's day and age, that the homeless person is not the only member of society, okay, the only representation of society. When there's a homeless person, well, a normal conversation about homeless people in today's day and age would be like, I don't know, like $250 from my paycheck. If I had enough money, I could supposed to give some homeless person like $250. Or some kind of a normal conversation, or that he's sleeping in like in a tent in the backyard, or like that he eats the Cheetos, but he doesn't actually drink the beer, you know? And that we are not going to skip over the viewpoint, you know, we're not actually going to do that. We're going to do that like in our own minds, but it's not really going to happen, you know, because that's talking about society is going to function. If we could like catch up with ourselves and talk about homeless people in a normal way, you know what I mean? Which is to say, like, I don't know, homeless people, like, you know, they sleep on the couch. First of all, they sleep on the couch. Second of all, you make a certain amount of money, you could easily give somebody $300, $500, $600 out of your paycheck. If you're making like, say you make, say you make $4,000 a month, you know, that you really would easily have enough money to give some homeless person like $200-$300. But nobody is doing anything. So the homeless person is the only member of society, because the homeless person is the only one who believes in society or what it represents or what it means. And so if you don't catch up with this person, none of this stuff is going to disappear. You see what I mean? None of it's going to disappear. It's all going to stay the same way. You need to catch up with that homeless person, you know, because the homeless person is like, you know, don't you let homeless people sleep in your car, or don't you let homeless people sleep on the couch, and like maybe like eat the Cheetos but not drink the beer, or don't you Try to get somebody in touch with somebody like that they know. Like if you have a cell phone, don't you ask a homeless person if he wants to use your cell phone? Or don't you happen to have like a couple $100 actually, because you actually you made a paycheck and there was like several $1,000s in your paycheck? Or don't you say, hey, why don't you come on inside and sit down with me inside this restaurant? I'm going to treat you to a meal. And all of these things which the homeless person would speculate. It's who we are. That's who you are. That's who we are. That's what it amounts to in this conversation about. And it's really interesting because when we start picking on each other, that's actually the little bit of righteousness that goes along with that, for instance, because we're not just picking on each other, we're picking on somebody, and for instance, like that it's the Anglo-Saxon one. Well, there it is. You see what I mean? And it doesn't change to something else. It's what it is. And you have to stop treating them badly. And if you take them off into some type of a never land, you're going to pay for all of your sins. You see what I mean? Because it's not the homeless person's fault. It's not the homeless person's fault that the homeless person would speculate about the world we're living in, the day and age. That's not the homeless person's fault that anybody would speculate about the day and age that we're living in. But don't let it be your fault that you don't understand the homeless person. You know what I mean?